Fifth day of Christmas, 5 golden rings. I won't make you sing it, but yeah, it's fine. The fifth day of Christmas. In the 18th century, they're celebrating the Christmas tide, those 12 days and nights of Christmas, mostly with adult activities in the evening. Christmas is not a child-centered celebration at all. Christmas Day itself is meant for going to church, having dinner with family and friends, and after Christmas tide officially starts the next morning. And there'll be parties and drinking and dancing, balls. Theater groups will come in, even from London. They'll come to Williamsburg to be here during this time. So if children receive gifts during the holidays, it might be on a New Year's Day. And even in a fine household like this palace, it might be something as simple as a ribbon for a girl's hair, maybe an improving book for a young man, a book on manners. That sounds exciting. Yeah, that's about what it all added up to. Other than that, adults are giving gifts to each other, usually things to help us with the celebrations, like a bottle of wine, a ham, or something like that. Well, folks, the palace you're going to see today, this is how it looked from about 1710 to 1781. It's first the home of 7 royal governors in succession. And those governors were appointed by the king in England. They're the king's representative, here to uphold the king's laws, and they serve at the king's leisure. So some were here and gone in no time, some are here 20, 22 years or more, whatever the king wants. That large portrait on the back is a portrait of the first governor to live here, Alexander Spotswood. Here's a picture of the last one before the Revolution. We'll be talking about him and his family. This is John Murray, the 4th Earl of Dunmore. He arrived in October of 1771. His wife's the Countess, both born and married Countess, arrives more than 2 years later. When Lady Dunmore arrived, she brought with her 6 children. She was described in the newspapers as being one of the most beautiful and gracious ladies in Western Europe. Songs and poems are written about her that are sung in our taverns today. But the lady arrived just 2 months after the disturbance in the harbor at Boston. You all know about that, don't you? The tea in the harbor. Terrible situation caused by a monopoly of tea brought in by the East India Company. Men calling themselves Sons of Liberty, dressed up like Indians, boarded a ship in the afternoon, dumped over 340 chests of tea into the harbor. Because of that destruction of private property, Parliament, with the King's blessing, passed the Port Bill. What did the Port Bill do? It closed the port of Boston on June 1st for many ships coming in from England and other colonies in an effort to starve those people. Latest research I've read that an estimated 2,000 people starved in Boston. Right. So that's why they had that first Continental Congress in Philadelphia. So members from all over the 13 colonies would gather kind of in the middle in Philadelphia, decide how to react. It's Virginians that are going to introduce a non-importation agreement, saying if you won't open Boston Harbor, these English colonies will no longer accept English goods. We're going to send everything back. Soon we'll stop exporting to Great Britain the things they want. The first, tobacco, and, and tobacco, and lumber. And so that actually does work. But while that first Continental Congress is going on, this royal governor is going to be out in the Ohio Territory with his new captain, Daniel Boone, fighting Shawnee Indians, opening up the West for Virginians. So he's gone for about 5 months. When he gets back in early December, got back December 3rd, the day after Lady Dunmore gave birth to the first baby to be born in the house. A little girl, and they'll name her Lady Virginia. What a political move there. And they'll have parties and celebrations throughout that holiday season. In fact, that's the holiday season. The first time this family's been together in about 4 years. So I'm sure they had a pretty good time. Patrick Henry puts an end to those parties with the Second Virginia Revolutionary Convention. The governor was back here, so Henry goes to Richmond. I try not to give too many names and dates on this tour, but one that I think is important is March 23rd, 1775, St. John's Church in Richmond. It's there in a call to arms that Patrick Henry said, "Give me liberty or give me death, thank you." As soon as those words are out of his mouth, Virginians get ready for war. 3 weeks later, the battles of Lexington and Concord. The sword was drawn. Soon this royal family would fear for their lives and safety. The whole family's going to flee the palace at 2 o'clock in the morning on June 8, 75, never to return. Well, what's such a big deal? Don't we want the royals out of here? Might want those royals out of here, but we didn't have anything else to take its place for about a year. In a year, Patrick Henry will be elected the first governor of our Commonwealth. Served 3 one-year terms living here with his family. In fact, his second wife he marries during his second term here at the palace is the granddaughter of that first royal governor to live here. Her name is Dorothea Dandridge. Do you know another Dandridge? Martha Dandridge, Custis Washington? Yeah, they're first cousins. Interesting. So yes, Henry and Washington are related by this marriage, and they're both related So, Henry's here for the first 3 years of the war, then Thomas Jefferson's our second governor. Jefferson's going to live here with his 2 daughters for less than a year. Still during the war in 1780, the capital city moves to Richmond. We were surrounded by the British. They thought for sure the city was going to fall. So the last use of this building then was as a hospital. During the last great battle of the Revolution, the siege of Yorktown. You actually got a chance today or during your visit to see the Wythe House down here on the right. It's headquarters for our Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, His Excellency General George Washington. If you haven't already seen that exhibit before the end of the year, it's going away. We do have some things on loan from Mount Vernon there. Wonderful exhibit. Around the corner of the Randolph House was headquarters for the French generals. General Rochambeau, Lafayette was here. So they're using this as a hospital for over 100 patients. Newspaper accounts survive, and by the way, those original newspapers are available to you in our resource library. You can also go online and read about it. You read that the palace caught fire at 11 o'clock at night on December 22nd, and within 3 hours was completely in ruins. I'll also say because of the kindness and thoughtfulness of the neighbors, out of more than 100 patients, that night they lost just one. Isn't that remarkable? But this building was gone, completely collapsed and torn down. So the building has been completely reconstructed, finished in the early 1930s. When this building was reconstructed, it was the first time anyone, anywhere in the world, in the history of mankind, had ever tried to reconstruct a project of this magnitude. 15 buildings, 10 acres, all taken back to their 18th century appearance. This entire project, by the way, was paid for by Mr. John D. Rockefeller, Jr. I hope you agree with me, did a fine job. I don't think any expense was spared. Everything you're going to see in this house has been documented as being here. We have some things that belong to royal governors. So thank you very much for listening to me, folks. You've been in the servants' hall. We're going on into the palace. Please watch your step on. Enjoy the palace. Please come in and have a look about. There's pantry to one side, the parlor to the other. Please come in, everybody. Come on in. Don't stop at the stairs, at the door. Please come on in. Have a look about. There's pantry to one side, the parlor to the other. Come on in. I don't think so. Please come in, please come in. Want to have a look at the pantry and the parlor? Would a kind gentleman please close the door for me? Thank you. Well, gentlemen, ladies, as you can see, we're done more fair proud of this arms display. This display in this hall belongs to the royal governor. Actual brackets. So the display would appear as you see it. Lord Dunmore has 540 weapons in this house. Y'all need to come through? Yeah. Right ahead. Your group is going to be upstairs from now on. So there are 540 weapons in this house. He took some down to Houston when he went out to fight the Shawnee with Daniel Boone. Weapons were taken down and used about a dozen times in the 18th century. Now, those of you interested in antiques, and please feel free to interrupt me asking me about the furniture and things that you see here. Today we have 80 original muskets dating from 1770. Oh, they've gone upstairs, actually. Mike?
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. Today we have 80 original muskets dating from 1717 to 1735. And some of those can still be fired. Some are too fragile for our employees to test. But all the muskets in this hall are original, except the first 2 rows of the fireplace. All the rest are antiques. Now, in early days, people would dance here and listen to fiddles and flutes, enjoy fine refreshments. Grand ball held in January to celebrate first and foremost the Queen's birthnight. Queen Charlotte, could you turn that light away? Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg to celebrate the baptism of New Lady Virginia, Lord Dunmore's victory over the Shawnee. That evening, most of the entertainment took place in the ballroom and supper room. It was added on about the middle of the century, just for those entertainments. And they're modeled on Versailles, so you're going to notice architecturally things are going to change quite a bit as we go through the palace. Now, over here in the pantry, Mrs. Scott was the head housekeeper. This is her domain, her pantry, her office. This woman supervised over 70 servants and slaves from this room. Very, very powerful, very, very